All right, for this assignment, you're going to be creating 4 documents and putting them all together. So step 1 says go to File and New to create a new document with the exact setup as below. And it tells us how many inches and everything. So in Photoshop, you're going to go to File and New, and then a new window will pop up. And you have to really pay attention to the settings. There's different settings that will really impact whether you get this right or not. So right now mine says pixels. Make sure that it's set to inches. And right now it's 26 by 15, which is huge. The directions say to make it 7 inches wide, 5 inches tall. It needs to be 150 resolution or 150 pixels per inch, RGB color and white, and then click create. So we have a new document. Step number 2 says save the file as last name text. So right away you're going to do that. File, save as. My last name is obviously going to be different than yours. So you're going to save it as your last name and then text. And you want to make sure that it's going to be set to be a Photoshop file, a .psd, so that goes under here, and then click save. Now the project says that you're going to be learning 4 different techniques for text on this page. Each text technique will be developed in a new document. So you're going to have 4 different documents total. You'll flatten it, and then you'll move it to a new layer in this main one that you just created. So your final thing will look like this. We're getting ahead of ourselves. So you created a new document, you saved it correctly, and now we're going to create a new document, a second one. So you're going to leave that one open. You're going to create a new document with the exact setup below, and notice that these settings are different than the other one. Do not just press enter. So you're going to go to File and New again, and when this window opens, we have to make sure that we have the correct settings. So we're going to make sure it's on pixels, 728 by 90 pixels. So we got to change it from inches to pixels, and then type in the correct number, 728, 90. It's still a resolution of 150. It's still RGB color mode, but the background now needs to be set to transparent. So you might have to scroll or use a little scroll roll on your mouse to get to transparent, and then hit create. Yours should look like this. If it doesn't have the checkered background, there's a way to fix it. There's a setting. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to go to File. So I'm going to go to Edit and Preferences. And then I'm going to find Transparency. So some of you followed up during the beach guide and some of you didn't. But if you go to Edit, Preferences, Transparency, and then I'm going to change the grid size from none to medium, and that will show me that I have a transparent background. Okay, so you created a file, you saved it, you created a second file. Now we're actually going to work with the T tool. So it says select the T tool. T tool is over here on the left side. Look for it. There's the T tool. And then I want you to put it on center. So you're going to center your text. You're going to pick out whatever font you want. Notice that some of these fonts are like symbols. You don't want that. You need to actually be able to read it. So there's lots of good fonts in here. You're going to just pick one. I don't know. I'll go ahead and pick this one. And then, so mine's set to purple. I'm going to leave it at purple, but you can make it whatever color. So font is where you change the font. It doesn't matter what font size right now as long as it shows up, but it does matter that it's centered and that you pick your color. So now I've got my T tool, and I'm just going to click here, and it gave that little dot, and now I can type in my name, and that's really tiny. Yours might be really big. If you do want to mess around with the font, you can. The font size you can up here, so whatever, but I have it set on center. Now the directions say select the move tool. So notice that a new layer is automatically created and contains a T for the thumbnail, differentiating this layer from other layers. So you can see that in my layers panel, there's a T layer, and it actually changed the name of the layer to whatever I typed in. So that's kind of cool. And now I'm going to select the Move tool, and I'm going to adjust my name so that it's centered in the middle of the box. And then I have to resize it holding Control and T. So step one, grab the T tool, and I'm going to click on this layer, and you can see the little boxes around the edges. If I hit Control T, that lets me resize it. And so I don't want to make it fill the whole thing. I don't want to make it too stretched because that's kind of ugly, but I can kind of adjust the size that way. I can adjust where it is on my screen. And then once I have it about how I want it, I'm going to press the Enter key on my keyboard. So that's what we did here. Now click on the text tool again so that the text options toolbar at the top shows up. And we're going to mess with the warped icon tool. So I've got to go back to the T tool. I'm going to click in my name so I know I'm on the right layer. And this is the upper right corner. There's the warped options. So this menu opens when I click on it, and you're supposed to pick one of these options. So you choose whatever you like. Let's see what wave looks like. Oh, that's kind of cool. I can mess with the settings however I want. I can see what that does. Ooh, I don't know. I don't like that so much. So play around with the different warp functions. Maybe you want to make it arched instead of wavy. It's kind of interesting. Maybe I don't want it to bend quite so much. Okay, so you see that's how you play with the warp tool. All right, now after you've done that, it says, do not press OK until you're satisfied with the shape of your name. Okay, I did that. So now we're going to click on the Layer Effects icon, which is this FX button in the bottom of the Layers palette, and we're going to choose Stroke. So we're going to put an outline. Stroke is an outline around our text. Stroke is the outside of the layer objects, in this case the letters. Adjust the color and the size to your liking, and then we're going to add drop shadow. So first, I've got this selected. I'm using my Move tool. I've got it selected. I've got this layer selected, so I'm going to go to Effects and choose Stroke. And the stroke option is going to open, and I can kind of move it over to the side if I want. You can see that it's got a slightly darker purple outline, but maybe I want to change it to be like a gold color, kind of school colors. You can see now I have a yellow outline. The position is on the outside. If I made it inside, it changes what it looks like. If I change it to center, it changes what it looks like. So there's a lot of different options. And once you have that, you can click OK. Now, after you've done the stroke, the next thing is to add a drop shadow. So we're going to do the same thing. I've got this layer selected. I'm going to go to Effects, and I'm going to choose Drop Shadow. And the drop shadow adds like a fake shadow to it. So I don't really see it right here, so maybe I need to make it, oh, there it is, it's a little darker. I can make it come out louder. Maybe I make it bigger. I don't see it there at all. You can kind of see the shadow on my name now. So make sure that you can see a little bit. Click OK. So I've done the warped text. I've added the stroke. I've added the drop shadow. And now I want you to adjust the distance, size, and the spread of that drop shadow. And then you're going to flatten the image and move it onto your other document. So flatten, first thing we're going to do is flatten. So we're going to go to Layer and all the way down until we see Flatten Image. So now you can see my drop shadow there. That looks pretty good. And so after you flatten, you go to Layer and Flatten. Now we're going to move it onto the top left of my other file. So I'm going to take the Move tool. I'm going to grab this layer. I'm going to drag it over my other file that's blank so far. And I'm going to put it in the top left, because remember, you're going to have your name on here 4 different ways. I'm going to do File and Save. So we just did the first one of the 4. And now it's time to do the next one, Clipping Mask. So with the text PSD document still open, create a new document with the exact setup. So this is going to be even different. Notice it's pixels, but it's a different size pixels than the second one. So how do we do that? We go to File and New, and this window pops up. We need to make sure it's set to pixels, and now instead of 728 and 90, you have to change it to 300 250 for the height, and it still should be RGB and transparent, and so I hit create. So this is a square instead of a rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and close this because I don't need it anymore, and because I already put it over here and saved it. So now I have this new one that I did, and this one is going to be for clipping mats. So this says to select the text tool. So I'm going to the text tool, and it says use the tool options bar to select the font face. So that's the font up here, and the color. Now I already did purple, so I'm going to do something different. The center icon needs to be selected, and then put it in the middle. So I'm going to pick a different font than what I had before. You got to do something different. So I'm going to try that one, and instead of purple, I'm going to do blue. I like blue a lot. And I'm going to click in the middle, and I'm going to type my name again. But now it looks different because I have a different font. Now it says use Control T to resize it. So I got to go to the Move tool and hit Control T. And now I'm going to make it sort of 75%, so not the whole box. I still want a little room around my name so that when I make edits, and then I'm going to press enter, and it's done. All right, and now I have to download and open the flag file. So in Google Classroom, where we have Photoshop Unit and all of this stuff, there's text tools, there's the flag. So I'm going to go to the flag. I'm going to click the download button. And then I'm going to open that in Photoshop. So now we are on step 9 that says move the flag on top of your name. So in Photoshop, I have the flag, I have the move tool. I'm going to drag the flag over to here, and I'm going to put it here. And see how I have 2 layers now? So I want to just put it over my name like that. And then the directions say use Control-Alt-G. So I have to hit Control-Alt and the letter G. And now what it's done is it's put the flag inside the text of my name, which is pretty cool. So now you can use the Move tool to position the picture where you want it in the text, so you can actually move the flag around. You can see how the stars are moving. So maybe you want to move the flag down to fill your text better, or up. I kind of like it just like that. Okay, and now you're going to select the text layer. So you have to go over in your layers panel, select the text layer to add a stroke. So we go to FX and we choose stroke, and the directions say the position needs to be set to outside. So position outside. And it should be the same blue color that's located in the flag. So what we can do is click on color and choose, we actually have this eyedropper here. So we'll click on color, and then we can actually just click on the blue, and now it's picked up the same color. So you can see now I have a blue outline there. And then I'm going to say OK. So I've added a stroke that's the right color. I put the flag inside of it, and now I'm going to go to layer and flatten, and I'm going to use the move tool to drag it over here, and I'm going to let go, and then I'm going to move it so that it's over here. So you should have 2 now on your screen. Go to File and Save so you don't lose your work. And the next video will show you how to do the second half of this project.